You're only the religion in which you were born in, the location of the region you were born in.
So what it makes me think of is Acts 17, right? This is what Acts 17 is Paul talking to a bunch of people who believe in a bunch of different gods. It says, from one man he has made every nationality to live over the whole earth and has determined their appointed times and the boundaries of where they live. It's like, that's a massive claim.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you live where you live because God put you there? What? Like the political boundaries in countries that are here because God's made those things?
Mm-hmm.
That's a whole other issue to wrestle with. But he did this so that they might seek God, and perhaps they might reach out and find him, though he is not far from each one of us. For in him we live and move and have our being, as even some of your own poets have said, for we are all his offspring. Since we are God's offspring, then we shouldn't think that the divine nature is like gold or silver or stone, an image fashioned by human art or imagination. Therefore, having overlooked the times of ignorance, God now commands all people everywhere to repent, because he has set a day when he is going to judge the world in righteousness by the man he has appointed. He has provided proof of this to everyone by raising him from the dead. So Paul's appeal to people who know nothing about Jesus are the nature of God, his sovereignty, and Jesus rose from the dead. Or the truth claims determined by region of where somebody grew up. Right?
So should LGBTQ, I always use that as an example because that's the most polarizing, be okay in America, but not okay in Afghanistan?
Yeah.
Or should a religion be okay in Afghanistan and not okay in Brazil?
Yeah.
Does region determine the objectivity of whatever is being claimed?
So we don't.
Water sucks. Water sucks. Like, that could be another. I hate water, and that's the objective truth. No one drinks water.
The parallel for me is moral truth claims. Again, so you're saying murder's wrong in, the Sudan, Central Africa, but murder's right in India. like it doesn't work that way. The truth, whether it's true or not, is not determined by region. So you need to actually address the truth claims related to what the claims actually are and argue against the claims, not the people.
So then it wouldn't be, if it was per region, then it's not truth. Because exactly
right. It's not true.
Because the definition of truth, I mean, can there be universal truth? But that's what truth is. Truth is. I mean,
so you can deny that there's universal truth, but that's an actual different argument than the argument you just made.
Yeah.
Like it's a different category of argument. So the issue is that are things in the world true or false determined on the region that you live in?
Yeah.
Because this is the actual claim. We believe this about God. Again, the thought is that there's more Christians in the United States because there's more access, right? But there are a lot of Christians in India. There's possibly, we don't know the number. There could be 100 million Christians in China. Right?
Really?
Could be. There's well over 1 billion people in China. 1/10 of China could be Christian. Right? They're a hard-nosed atheist culture with a lot of control over religious activity. There's actually government organizations that if you're not an underground church, you have to have somebody from the government who's an atheist, basically a communist, overseeing your church. Right? So let's say there's 50 million genuine Christians. Again, I don't know that number. None of us can know that number. 50 million genuine Christians in China, like their culture completely radically disagrees with all that. Right?
Yeah.
So like your evidence runs the other way. The book of Acts runs the other way. Nobody believed.
Every nation, tribe, and tongue. I mean, this is super, basic verse, but I.
So let's talk about what the actual issue might be.
Cultural ties to
yes.
Kings and queens back in the day doing crusades with ties to Christianity.
Well, I would say now one of the issues that have the last 50, 75 years, even last 200 years, I'd say, that has happened is that oftentimes people who were missionaries thought in terms of not merely the message of the gospel, but Western culture. Like American or European culture needed to be imposed because it was better. This is actually what was happening to the Native Americans in 1700s. Is that like there was a big giant push? Is that they were they viewed them as savages, and of course they did they did savage things too, but so did the Europeans. So did the Americans. That they wanted the Native Americans to look exactly like, clothing-wise, culture-wise, music-wise, all these things. They wanted them to look like Westerners.
So that's where the negative connotation and negative stuff gets tied into, but not purely. That's always the issue, is we attach personal experience, context to the pure gospel and the pure pure Jesus for who he truly is.
So let me give you this is going to be a challenging example for everybody here, right?
Please
everybody listening. That and I've told a story to you a couple times. I went to Ecuador a couple times, worked among a people group called the Sachila, and one of my memories of teaching a Bible study was sitting there with two women without shirts on, because when Westerners weren't there, right? When like Americans
without shirts, no bra.
Yeah, no bra. Their breasts were just wide open, right? I'm sitting there, whole group, it's a semicircle, and they're over to the left over here. The necessary part of the gospel. Okay, so I'm teaching the gospel to them. A necessary part is, I'm not saying you have to wear a shirt. They have a different cultural mores than we have. Again, when we weren't there, when the Americans weren't there, they were all walking around without shirts on, right? It was normal for them. It wasn't a sexual issue for them. So, like, for me to get there and say, well, okay, well, here's a necessary part of the gospel.
Gospel and shirts.
Gospel and shirts, exactly right. Same way for music. Like, they have a type of music was drum oriented. They don't have like a Western style of music, with a rock band or anything like that. They don't have that. So to impose that on them and say, well, this is an essential part of Christianity, you have to sing Amazing Grace.
Yeah.
You have to sing it in this way, in this format, is not an essential part of the gospel. So what they're actually like wrestling with oftentimes is that they're equating Western thought or American thought directly with Christianity.
Yeah.
And Christianity in India looks radically different. Christianity in China looks different from our Christianity. Christianity in South America, Africa, it all looks different in their actual outward practice, music, clothing, what a church worship service looks like. One of my favorite things and one of my favorite experiences going to Southwestern Seminary in Fort Worth is that we had a lot of Korean students. Mm-hmm. And it's a common practice in a church I went to in North Dallas. Common practice among Koreans in church is they all pray out loud at the same time. I'm saying, let's try that next Sunday at First Baptist Floresville. Everybody's going to be like, what are we doing?
Sure.
To them, it's normal practice.
Yeah.
So that what they're doing is oftentimes, I'm saying this is one of the core issues that needs to be addressed. They're equating Western American thought with what Christianity actually is. Like all these practices that we have, when the actual issue in this thing about region and stuff like that is actually what are the truth claims of the gospel?
Yeah.
Jesus is God.
Yeah.
Wrestle with that truth claim. Doesn't matter where you live. You could live in Japan. Wrestle with the truth claim Jesus is God. Doesn't matter your region. Wrestle with the truth claim that Jesus died and rose again.
Yeah.
Wrestle with that truth claim. Right? Doesn't matter what language it's in. Doesn't matter what clothes you're wearing. Doesn't matter what TV you like to watch or food you like to eat. That is a truth claim that you need to wrestle with. Just like, that's why I made the parallel, is murder wrong? Mm-hmm. Right? That's a truth claim that shouldn't have anything to do with your language or where you grew up or what kind of house you grew up in or what kind of family you had. It's a truth claim you need to wrestle with objectively.